Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about cleaning your brass after you shoot black powder. When I first started shooting black powder, I was making the decision and getting a list together in my head of all the things I was going to need and trying to learn everything I can. I'm still trying to learn everything I can. I have a good friend though named Tony, real good friend of the channel, and he told me, he said, Johnny, you have to understand something. He goes, there's a lot of voodoo associated with shooting black powder. And what he meant was there's lots of information out there that people take for granted that simply isn't true. Or they do things and they don't know why they do them. It's just always been done that way. And those things may work, may not work. One of the things that there's a lot of bad information about is cleaning your brass. So I've got a bunch of fired brass here from a week ago, and I haven't done anything to it. It's just been sitting in a plastic box. So come on in here and let's have a look at what we're going to do today. I think it's really going to open some people's eyes and really going to clear some stuff up. So this is going to be a good day. Glad to have you with us.
Okay, so here I got some fired brass, and I've got my little decapper tool because I do not resize my black powder brass anymore. And as you can see, some of this brass is getting a little scrungy. Now it's been 6 days. Today's Saturday. I fired all this brass last Sunday, so it's been 6 full days sitting in here. And because it was raining on us at that silhouette match, this brass was also had some water on it. Okay. So it wasn't just fouling, but there was fouling mixed with water inside these boxes. And so it's just sat like that. Now next here, I've got my tub that I'm going to decap and get my primers, catch them in there. A lot of times I think you see guys sitting around at the range using these tools, and they're just decapping their brass and spewing primers all over the ground. And that's really kind of a bad thing. That gives us a bad look because those things never really get cleaned up. And they're just nasty looking, and it makes you look like a pig if you do that. So the next thing I'm going to start out here with is distilled water. I actually don't physically believe that you need distilled water for this kind of stuff, but I'm starting with it because I'm going to do some pH testing with that kit right there, and I want to have a constant baseline. And if I give you a result, then if you got distilled water in your area, you would be able to think reasonably that your results would be pretty similar, because I know that the pH levels of tap water can vary widely across the country. Yeah, especially maybe if you're living in Detroit, your tap water may have some crazy numbers attached to it. And the last thing I got here is I've got a notepad, and I'm going to record the pH levels of some various solutions, because I'm going to take some of that brass, get it decapped, and I'm going to mix it in distilled water, and then I'm going to test the pH after say 3 hours of just sitting in water and see what happens, right? See if the pH goes up or it goes down, right? Because if it's going up, it's that means that it's an alkaline solution, and if it goes down, that's an acid solution, and either one can ruin your brass. So we want to have notes we can refer back to, and then we'll know exactly what to do later. And then the other thing is I'm going to test a few different solutions. Regular dish soap that I got from Costco. I'm figuring this is pretty much like Dawn, if anything is. I got the Windex with the vinegar here, and I've got Simple Green. So we're going to test, there you go, we're going to test out all 3 of these and basically see which one is going to just get our brass to where it's neutral, it's not corroding, and to where we can let it sit and then run it through our tumbler at our leisure. Alright, so let's bring you guys in over my shoulder here, and I'll show you how this works. In case you're thinking about shooting black powder, you're going to need one of these. It's available at Buffalo Arms. It's a decapping tool, and it decaps just by seating you put a piece of brass on there like so, and then it slides and hits that little lip right there, and then you push it, and hopefully you don't shoot your primer all over the desk like I just did. But now I have a piece of decap brass and we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little over 100 rounds of brass here. I'm going to decap around 30 rounds, and I'm going to put it in a gallon of distilled water and test it out. And I'm going to see what happens to it. Is it going to be an alkaline solution or a base solution, or what's going to happen? How's it going to work? That's what we're going to find out, because then that's going to inform our decision as to how we're going to move forward and what solution we're going to use, if any, in the future with this. So hold on here and I'll get this done. And alright, so there's about 30 rounds of brass, and you'll notice that this thing right here has got some fouling on it, and you've got to remember to clean this as well, because this thing will rust. It's not stainless steel, it's just regular steel in the white, and this thing will corrode. It will rust. And the thing that black powder does to make steel rust up is that it's I think it's called hydrostatic or hydroscopic. It attracts water out of the atmosphere into it, and that's why your gun rusts when you shoot black powder. That's why you have to clean it. Alright, so we've got a fresh gallon of distilled water. Should give us a pretty good accurate result. And we're just going to dump it in our tub. There we have it, 1 gallon of distilled water. We're going to save the cap and save the jug, because you know what? It's fun to fill these things up with water and shoot them again. So next thing's next. We're going to put all this fired brass into that distilled water, and we're going to let it sit. And then we're going to test and see what the pH level is. So there we go. We can even mix it up a little bit. Perfect. See you in 3 hours. Okay, first things first. We need to do a test and figure out exactly what the pH of our distilled water is, right? We've got our solution here, and we got the cap that goes on this little test tube. Now, what the first thing we're going to do is take some of our distilled water and put it in there, and we're going to shake this up and dump it out, because we don't want any residue inside there from any test we might have done way back in the back, right? And second thing is, we fill up to about this line right here, and then we add 10 drops of solution. Normally when I use this kit, I only fill it halfway and I add 5 drops. This solution costs a little bit of money. The kit's about 80 bucks. I don't want to run out of it. I mean, I know it's going to last a long time. I want it to last a long time, right? But for purposes of the video here, we're going to go ahead and fill her up and go with the full 10 drop mix. So we need to pour a little out there, make some room. There we go. Give this stuff a shake. And let's add our 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looking good. And I can tell right away that we're getting an orange hue on this, which means the pH is a bit lower than what we're looking for. But we're going to have a good starting number, right? So we'll give her a shake. Just like so. There we go. We want it nice and mixed up even in there. So, stick this in here. And I'm actually going to take out the low end of the scale, because that's where this is falling. And I'm going to show you right here. I'm hoping you can see this in the light, but our pH on distilled water is running 5.5, right? So we need to make a note of that so that we remember it. It's a slightly acidic solution, right? 5.5 pH for distilled water. So we can go ahead and dump this out, because the pH, the levels that we're actually looking for are going to land in here right in here, you know, right in this range. But we're going to get there in a minute, as soon as we get that brass sample back and we get it tested. So stand by. Okay, everybody, so we're back, and there's been nothing in here but that dirty brass and distilled water, and it's been in there soaking. And so we're going to go ahead and do a test right now and see what the pH level of just dirty brass and distilled water is. So let's get a full thing of solution here. Just a little bit more out of there, about that much. Okay, so we'll give our stuff a shake right here. Yeah, don't drop it. 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there we go. Maybe put that down over there. Let's put our cap on. We can already see this thing is dry. It's getting, or not dry, but dark. Sorry. It's getting pretty dark on there. This is a heavy, this is exactly, you know what this is? This is exactly the opposite of what I thought was going to happen with fired brass. I thought it would be acidic, and as you can see, it's not. Not only is it not acidic, it is alkaline in the extreme. It's beyond, the top number on our scale right here is 10.5, and this is darker than that. So this might be 11 or 11.5 pH level, which the heavy alkaline solution like that will leach the copper out of the brass just the same as an acid solution will. So what we need to do is to stop that. We need to bring that pH level down. Now, the first solution that I messed with was using Simple Green and mixing about a shot or a shot and a half of Simple Green with a gallon of water. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'll show you, because I actually kind of know what the results of this are going to be. So let's get a shot glass full. Whoop. And we'll just dump that in there. And just a little more, like a shot and a quarter, I think is what my math said the first time. And Simple Green has a lot of stuff in here too, so you don't want to add, this is not a situation where more is better, okay? I'll just say that. Really don't go over about 1 shot in a gallon of water. So this is the first solution I used, and the thing I liked about Simple Green solution is that it does a really awesome job of starting to get the brass clean. Simple Green is just hell on carbon fouling. I mean, it takes it right off the brass. So we're going to let that sit. We're going to let this sit for another couple hours, and then we're going to test it again. Alright, everybody. Well, this brass has been in here a good little while. Making sure we got everything mixed up into that water. Kind of one of the problems with Simple Green. Simple Green does a really good job, first off, but one of the things about it is it kind of turns the water green a little bit, which is one of the colors on our spectrum here. So we have to make sure that we do this exactly right in order to get the best results. So here, that's about right. Now we're going to add in 10 drops of our solution. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, cap it up. See how that's sitting up there at the very top. We want to get it mixed in here good. And we can see it's still pretty purple, but let's compare it on our scale. And I'm going to say that right now our mix is running, I don't know how well you guys can see this or not, but we're running at about 9.5. So we're at the very top end with Simple Green solution. We're at the very top end of the pH scale of where we actually want to be. Okay, now that's okay. I feel like it could actually be better though. So what I'm going to do, And some of this brass was some of the worst looking brass too. And if like this piece here had some real corrosion on it, that seems to be pretty well stopped. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dump this brass through a colander and put it in my Thumbler's tumbler. And I run the stainless pens. Some people like the ceramic media. I like the pens. I've always kind of liked them. And I want to be able to run large amounts of brass at one time. That was the whole reason for me to start looking at these solutions, because I don't want to have to run that tumbler every time I have 30 pieces of brass. I would much rather fill the thing up and run it, you know, run it at its max capacity, which is about 150 or so, I think. Just to save myself time, right? So anyway, we have our answer. Our simple green solution is running 9.5 on the pH scale. So we're going to set up another experiment. We'll be right back. All right, we've got another batch of brass here. It's about the second third of our brass that we need to get decapped. So here we go. Yeah, done. All right, so I've got some more brass here, and I'm going to put it in my tub. And the second mix we're going to try out is going to be the Windex with vinegar and water, our distilled water. So, I'll put these bad boys in there and make sure I don't have any nasty primers still sitting in the case. So there we go. Now, I've used a little bit of this Windex here, probably used about a third of it, right? And the directions that I read in Mike Venturino's book was to mix, was to take your gallon of water and dump out enough to where you could fill this into the gallon and you'd have a full gallon again. So I'm going to say I've used about a third of that, so I'm going to leave about a third of a gallon in here, and then I'm going to dump that into the mix and see how it works. I mean, it would work for me to just dump this whole gallon in here too. It would just be a slightly weaker solution. So we're going to go about like that. Pretty good. Close enough for the girls I date. And then we're going to dump in our Windex. Now the thing about vinegar, the Windex has a little bit of soap in it too. But the thing about this stuff is that Windex is a really good cleaner, right? Vinegar is a really good cleaner, so I expect this to work really well on the brass. And I also expect it to be as good as the Simple Green, because Simple Green is a really good cleaner too. And ooh, I have a crack in my tub. That stinks. That stinks. I'm leaking stuff everywhere. Hold on, gotta get a tub. All right, disaster avoided there. We toweled up the mess, so now we're going to take and dump this in here, provide a little extra agitation. There's the crack, and the thing that almost got me, this thing, is headed for the recycle bin. So we're going to let this guy sit for a little while, and then we're going to come back and test it with our pH testing kit and see what it says. All right, so we're ready to go. This has been soaking in here for a few hours now. And we need to test the pH level of this Windex solution. Remember that our last solution of the brass plus the distilled water and the Simple Green, we came in at a pH level of about 9.5. So now, using this solution, which is basically vinegar and soap, with the distilled water, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to go ahead and see where our pH level falls now. And it's a pretty light green, so this is actually a really good looking result right here. Put it in, hold it up to the light. I'm going to say that our pH level right now, hoping you guys can see this a little bit. I'm gonna call that about 7.5 to 8, which is perfect. That's right in our zone, exactly where we want to be. What that means is that in this solution, the pH level's been put to non. It's not going to damage the brass. Basically, all the fouling in there has been neutralized. Right? That's what we're getting at here. This brass can now, we can strain this out in the sink, and we can just let it sit for a long period of time before we clean it. We're not at any race, even though this brass still has some ugly spots on it, right? Some black spots. We don't have to race to clean this at all, probably, is my guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dump this out, and I'm going to actually strain and put this brass into our Thumbler's tumbler for to go with the other brass from the simple green test, because we have one more batch of brass here, and we're going to try distilled water and dish soap, and we're going to test that and see what happens with that pH level. So hold on. Okay, so first things first, I'm using Costco regular dish soap. This has, looking at the ingredients, it's got a whole bunch of long chemical names in here on this ingredient list. This is certainly not biodegradable soap, but the one thing it also has on the list is citric acid right there. So this soap should actually provide us a benefit similar to the Windex, although I think it will not be as strong. If I was guessing, I believe that this will, I think that this will work, but not quite as well as the vinegar. So far the vinegar, I'm pretty sure, is in first place, and I totally didn't measure that. I just put a big old glopper of soap in there, and so we'll just dump in the whole gallon of water, again saving our empty gallon jug for future shooting adventures. And we're going to stir this up real good to make sure it's mixed. And then I'm going to start punching those primers and dropping the brass into our soap water solution. Now I've got to say, I do use this dish soap in my my Thumbler's tumbler. Actually, I just put dish soap with a little bit of Lemmy Shine in there, and that's my mixture, and I run it with the stainless pins, and my brass comes out looking brand new. Really good looking brass. Now I've used other dish soaps like Myers brand dish soap, and those have worked really well too in the past. I just happened to have the Costco this time. It was not bought on purpose or anything. So let's get this done and get them in there. All right, there we go. Empty primers, throw them in the trash. And let's let this sit for a little while and then do some pH testing. Okay, everybody, let's check our results on our final test here, which is dish soap and distilled water. So we're going to get ourselves a good scooper of fluid here. Make it just a little more room. That's probably about enough. 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. We've got a pretty good purple color coming in here. So that's a pretty good mix. Slide it into our little reader here. Now I'm going to say, and I'm hoping you can see the color here, I'm going to say that the mix, the dish soap and distilled water is running at 9.5 pH, and that's really the ragged edge of where we want to be. I would be more comfortable having a pH of less than that, but it did come down some, and so I think that really, if you added a little bit of lemmy shine to this mix, just like a, you know, eighth of a teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon of lemmy shine to a gallon of water, I bet you could bring this pH level way down. As it is, I think that the dish soap is probably okay. Right now, it doesn't make any difference. This brass is all gonna go in the tumbler to be cleaned. So let's make a note, and we will wrap this bad boy up. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by the channel today. I hope that a little bit of light chemistry wasn't too boring for all you guys, but at the same time, it's all about learning what you have to do to be competitive. So we're going to take this brass and run it through our tumbler and get her cleaned up, and we're going to reload it, and we're going to use it to shoot another video and have some more fun. Learn some more stuff too. We'll see you next time here on the Recoil Therapy channel. Thanks for watching. There's a hit.